whatever options are out there for you to help regrow, clean your scalp, you should really jump on it. It's the minoxidil, finasteride, the laser comb, taking the vitamins, whatever you can get your hands on to help boost that, go for it. Honestly, it's only going to help.
Welcome to HairPod, the podcast where you get to hear real people talk about their hair journeys. I'm your host, Kevin Ralston, and each week I get to interview people from different walks of life whose lives have been touched by hair loss in some form or fashion. Many of our guests have experienced hair loss themselves and found a way to get their confidence and their hair back. There are many different reasons why people experience hair loss, and we've covered quite a few of them in depth on this show. From male or female pattern hair loss to trichotillomania, the causes of hair loss can be incredibly diverse, and different solutions work for each unique scenario. Today's guest found a combination of things that has gotten his hair back to show how he wants it. Today's guest has found a combination of things that has gotten his hair back to how he wants it. No compromises. If you're a regular listener, you probably have already heard him come on the show to talk about his experience. It's time for another episode with Dan Medeiros for you. Today, we're going to talk about the magic combo that has worked out with specialists over at HairClub. And we're going to start all the way back at the beginning when Dan first started to notice his hair loss.
It started off gradually. After high school, going into college, I have a rare form of psoriasis on my scalp, and it's my stress is what causes a lot of things to come out physically on me, which primarily on my scalp. So as the stress of life got worse and I started getting older, it started rearing its ugly head, and quite literally, no pun intended, but it devastated me really badly. And then I got into work in a very high stress job, working logistics, transportation dispatch, a job where I saw many coworkers break down crying in the office and go away on stress leave for like 6 months. So it did its damage to me very physically on my head. I lost hair very fast. I went from a full head of hair to like almost half that, and it looked like a war zone on my head. So it hit really hard, really fast in my early 20s. And from there, it was just, suddenly trying to figure out, okay, what do I do? Where can I go? Try different solutions, everything and anything you can think of, and then made my way to HairClub. And with HairClub, they got me on track with the EXT program. EXT, it wasn't just, to bring my hair back, but to fix my scalp. And that was the first thing, getting on the regimen, making sure I stuck to the plan, and, I had my routine and I stuck to the routine, cleaning my scalp and making it healthy again. And it started to clear up. And as it started to clear up, I started regrowing hair again. My hair started getting thicker, stronger, and, where some people would get, clusters of like maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 strands coming out of a single spot on their head, I started getting, 6 or 7. And so I became a very good EXT client right off the bat. And, it was between your shampoos, the, a scalp cleanser, and then conditioners, and then using minoxidil, and then taking, the vitamins to help boost that. So a mix of everything helped a lot. Changing my diet was a huge part of that too. Honestly, diet is literally half. I'd say half at the very least of what is going to help regrow your hair and just make it stronger and healthier. Diet is everything. It really is.
I believe in that. Now, Dan, I got a couple questions here. One, tell me, what was the severity of the hair loss? If we're talking about 100% of the scalp area where you would have hair growing, what percentage would you say that you saw hair loss, and to what level was it? Was it patchy? Was it thinning? Was it complete baldness? What did you experience?
It was thinning, incredibly thinning, especially around the front. I went from thick, luscious hair in the front to all of a sudden it was just so thin that you could see right through to the scalp. God forbid I was under any sort of lights or anything like that. And, I was one that I loved having my hair up and messy and, spiked up. And I couldn't do that anymore because it started getting noticed and then comments were made. And then I couldn't look in the mirror anymore. And then from there, it just proceeded and it just got worse and worse. And then it was a matter of trying to find ways to cover that up, changing my hairstyle, all sorts of things. It was, thinking back on it, it's crazy. It's just crazy how bad it can change.
The first thing you talked about too was scalp health. Now, is that considered to be EXT? Is that what EXT is caring for the scalp and trying to get it so that it can, the way I'm thinking of it is almost like a farmer would have a field that has great dirt and they take care of it and make sure that it's fertile and put fertilizer in it so that it can grow something. Is that almost the same thing of what you're talking about?
That is probably one of the best ways to kind of describe that. It really is. In order to grow the hair, you need to have a scalp that is healthy, that is energized. It needs to produce, the healthy oils and there's DHT is the main factor that causes your hair to lose. When you're starting to produce a lot of DHT,
That's a hormone, right? The hormone that kind of just chokes off the follicle and squeezes out the hair and makes you start going bald.
Yeah. And that's when you start seeing, instead of seeing, all those spots on your head where you'd see hair growth out of it, you see that smooth baldness because there's no follicle anymore. It's essentially the skin's grown over and nothing happens. It's just barren
DHT
land.
DHT's done that basically.
Yeah. And I started producing a lot of it. And I said, my scalp was a nightmare. It looked like a war zone. It was like a minefield that went off. Imagine your head is feeling like your scalp's on fire and not being able to touch it or scratch. Like if you want to scratch it so bad, but it's only going to make it worse. I tried going to doctors, dermatologists, and no one could really do much of anything for it. It was finally going to HairClub, getting on a proper regimen, the shampoos, the stuff you do in the shower every night. That is what cleans the scalp and it starts to you're almost retraining your scalp to do the normal things again. And as I said, once you've gotten the scalp clean and healthy, then it starts producing the proper things it needs to actually regrow hair. Then your scalp can actually properly do it. So that's when I started seeing that. And like I said, instead of growing thin hairs that would just fall out, I was growing thick hairs that would stay and continue to grow. So all of a sudden, and then the minoxidil, you throw that in and that's what helps the actual growth. So you clean it and then you grow. You clean it, you grow. And with that pattern and sticking to that and changing my diet, getting active again, I started playing hockey. I was running. I was being active and sweating out all those bad chemicals. And then, I was able to actually start growing my hair long again. I was actually starting to go out again. And it's just crazy. The whole journey, it's amazing. I think back on it now and I'm going on 15 years with HairClub. And I think back on everything and it's still such a trip to see where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Now, my question about EXT, is it a package that puts minoxidil and the shampoos and everything together basically in one box that you get? So if you go to HairClub and you ask for EXT, that's what you get. It's getting the field ready to grow the hair. Is that what EXT is?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the whole process, the program. So that's your shampoo, your scalp cleaner, which you use before you put on your conditioner. And then you put on the conditioner, you wash it all out. And then afterwards, while your pores are open after the shower, then you put in the minoxidil and then it gets right in there. You let it sit, you stay, especially it's perfect overnight. You shower before you go to bed. And then I would wake up in the morning. If I showered, I'd put it on again and have it sitting throughout the day. I get very OCD. So it's, when I get on a regimen, a pattern, I stick with it. And I'm very, very detail oriented when it comes to that because I so badly want that to work. And, missing a day and not having that consistency, that breaks up the consistency of your growth, of your scalp health. So that's why I'm so very adamant on reminding people, you have to stick to the plan. If you kind of jump on it and then you step away from it, jump on it, step away, it's not going to work the way you want it to. And then you'll get frustrated. And I feel
How
that's
hard is this plan? That's my question. How much time are you talking? Because it sounds like you're very disciplined. And what if you're a not disciplined person? How much time am I taking in the morning, at night to do EXT?
and that's the thing. It's not like it's just part of your regular day, your regular routine. I mean, you just, it was honestly just like nothing but a second thought. I start my day, I shower, I do my shampoo, conditioner, and then I put minoxidil in. Minoxidil was essentially almost like the only other step I had to add into my day. And it was something I did after my showers. So
what is that like when you put in minoxidil? It's been years since I think it was Rogaine way back in the day. When,
oh gosh,
I was doing it, but I remember it was, it was wet and, it would mess with the consistency. So how does that work? Do you have to let it dry when you put it in? Does it mess with the hair if you're trying to style it? What is it like putting in minoxidil?
with I'd say the longer hair, yeah, it's, it can, if your consistency of the hair, like it can almost kind of add a bit of an oiliness to it. So that's why I say my favorite, it was using it at the end of the, at night. So I get home, I'm done for the night, I shower, I put it in, and then you massage it into the scalp. You don't just put it on, let it sit, or else it'll just look like you have a scalp full of, oil. You really have to massage it in until you're not feeling that oiliness anymore. And that's what helps it really get into the pores and really get into your scalp. And then, it sits, it dries, you can do your thing, you can style your hair, and you're perfectly good to go. There's just, I went through all of the doing things wrong, doing things right, because it's a bit of a learning curve. But it's very easy, very easy. And that's why we do things like this. We help educate people and we help them understand the process. And that's why I love doing, again, that's why I love doing this.
Dan's experience shows that even though starting something new can be a little bit daunting, it's important to just try it and see how it goes. Being committed to the process and changes to his life and routine helped Dan reach his hair goals. Using EXT played a major role in healing his scalp so that his hair could grow in healthy and strong, and the treatments rolled naturally into his own personal care regimen. But that's not all he mentioned. Dan's diet also played a significant role in his hair loss, and changing things up helped him get his hair back.
With the stress, which leads, stress, depression, and all that stuff, I fell into the void of fast food and energy drinks. It was awful. So I gained a lot of weight. And with that, the hair loss continued with it, trying to cope with the depression of everything, of losing my hair and everything, and all the stress in life. I found a crutch with fast food and energy drinks. And that was, oh God, it was devastating. I think back on it now, I'm like, I can't believe I did that to myself. But it's not hard to fall into. And it took me a while to finally snap my way out of it. I was over 260 pounds, 265 pounds when I finally realized, oh my gosh, what am I doing to myself? And
what was that moment? How did you, because we usually have that one wake up call. What was it for you? Do you remember that moment where you just said, what am I doing? I got to stop this routine that I'm on.
I think I saw a picture of myself from high school, and I looked at myself and I'm like, man, I was skinny back then. And then I remembered what my weight was back then. I'm like, man, I was like 175 pounds at that point. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like almost 265. Like that, for some reason, that never, like I would see my weight and I'd go, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's who I am.
And then it just sort of realized, wow, that is not good. And it was a complete a change. I immediately just went full force into completely turning everything over, stopping the energy drinks, no more fast food. I was, my diet changed when I would eat dinner and what I was eating. I had a rule, trying to eat dinner no less than 4 hours before I went to bed. You don't want to go to sleep with food in your stomach because it'll still be there in the morning. And then, find my best meal of the day was breakfast, first thing after I woke up, and jumping on water and, eating good meals, going for walks every day, starting to play hockey, and everything changed along with that. My hair changed along with it, my attitude.
Your hair ties into the overall picture of wellness that you have.
Yeah, your entire body is a machine, and you need the proper, your machine can only run if you put the proper things in it to make it run. If you start throwing things that don't work properly, then obviously your machine's not going to work properly. So it made a huge difference. And that's why I can't stress that enough. And it's such a hard thing to do. But once you find it, once you stick to it, it will work so well. Everything will change. Your attitude, your outlook. I found myself again. I was able to start looking in the mirror again. I was able to smile again. I was able to look at people in the eyes, instead of looking down. It changed everything. It really does.
The one thing I would guess too, you're talking about the energy drinks, and people may not consider when it comes to hair health, sleep. And when you have energy drinks, it messes up your circadian rhythms, the way you sleep, and getting a good night of sleep. Again, like you're saying, it's all tied together. So if you're depriving yourself of sleep, you're going to jeopardize your hair health.
Yeah. I mean, when you sleep, that's when your body recharges. That's when all the repairs start happening. So if you don't give your body, your scalp, your head, everything that time to recharge and repair, you're running on fumes.
Right. Yeah. Dan, tell me a little bit about X strands. We have now unpacked. I've got a great understanding of what EXT is. What does X strands do, and how does that contribute now to the great head of hair that you have?
Well, I mean, as you can see, this is what I'm wearing. I mean, you can quite literally see right through the hair. It looks like it's all coming right out of my scalp.
Yeah, that's the thing that is really perplexing to me, because I'm trying to figure out where any kind of treatment is beginning. What is the real you and what is the assistance? Because there's nothing that you can notice. With an extreme close-up, you've got hair coming out of your scalp. And so I'm really confused as to what this is and what it's contributing to this look I'm seeing.
Yeah, so when I'm not wearing the hair, I have everything buzzed down. So it's actually, for me, it's easier to, when I have it all off, I can actually massage the minoxidil into the scalp. I use a laser hair comb as well. That's another huge boost between the minoxidil and the hair comb and the laser hair comb. It's almost like a 1-2 punch. I would highly recommend getting one of those, or they also have the caps. They have all different forms of the laser hair combs, but that it really helps get to the scalp, gets to the roots. I mean, you can grow it longer. You can do the same thing. I just find it easier this way. Plus, I love this style. It's quite easy to just throw it all over to one side, and I can get up in the morning and go about my day. But yeah, I actually just put my hair on today. My wonderful wife helped me, which is fantastic because it's not always the easiest on my own. But yeah, so we put it on quick and got it all. And it's just, I'm able to go about my day. I can go on stage and perform. I can go to work. I can go hang out with people. I went and played hockey earlier today as well. So, I was able to play hockey, put a helmet on, shower afterwards, and it's unaffected.
No concerns,
and then no concerns. It doesn't lift when I'm ready when I'm ready to take it off, and I take it off, and then I do my work underneath. And then when I want to put it back on again, I can put it back on again.
So not only does Dan use EXT to care for his scalp and maintain his natural hair, he's also using a hair system in tandem with it. Between the two solutions he has, you would never know that Dan has any sort of hair assistance. The blending of the hair system into his own natural hair looks so seamless that it's impossible to tell the difference between what's growing out of his scalp and the system itself. So I want to know specifically how he brings the two of those things together to get that completely flawless look.
I'll have my hair on, for a good, almost kind of like an extended long weekend. So I go in for my appointments usually on Fridays or Thursdays, and then I'll wear it till about Tuesday. Then I'll take it off, and I'll spend those days in between when I have it off, just working on my scalp, and then really focusing on using the minoxidil on top of where I usually have my hair on. So it's all just on the top, all the sides and the back. That's all.
Yeah,
that's
you
all
have the left side of your head is shaved up to the hairline, and then the hair flips over. People aren't able to visualize this right now, but it's long, it's thick. There's no indication of any kind of hair issues whatsoever.
No, and that's the thing. And it's just so simple, and it's such an easy process. Like, I was able to get my hair on today completely, all done within no more than half an hour. It was so quick, so easy. And then, as I said, in between that, I do all the EXT stuff. And even while I'm wearing my hair, I mean, I still have access to the sides and the back. And I mean, so I still massage the minoxidil into the scalp here, because when I just started wearing the hair and I wasn't using EXT, all of this was
around the sides and the back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was thinning out as well. It wasn't as thick anymore. So if I started to grow it out, you could still see through to the scalp. Now, I work with a group in Iowa called the Iowa League of Heroes, who dress up as superheroes. We go visit the kids in the sick kids hospitals. We do all sorts of events, and I dress up as Superman. And, so I grow it out. I had, it can't, Superman can't have patchy, thin hair. So I started noticing it was getting thin. So I'm like, I really need to get back on the EXT again. So I got back on the EXT program, and all of a sudden it started growing all thick again. So I was able to grow it out. And then it was like, oh my gosh, now I can actually have this longer, and it's consistent from the top to the sides. I don't want to have thick hair up top here and then thin hair here on the back. I don't want to have my system to continue, to have my system be made longer. And I don't want to be wearing hair that completely takes all of my scalp. I want my own hair as well. Wearing this helps take care of what I can't fully grow out yet. And then the EXT is helping to rebuild what I have underneath here, as well as the sides and the back. So being able to grow my own hair out and also get the thick, luscious hair that is me, this is me. I'm able to have both. So I don't want my system, my extrands to, again, to go from just this to all of this as well. I don't want to wear a whole head system. So the EXT helps mitigate that, and it helps me actually regrow my hair. And with today's technologies, and it's getting even better. I mean, there's finasteride and all these other new combinations with minoxidil, which HairClub's going to be jumping into very, very, very shortly. Finasteride is almost like that second piece of the puzzle that minoxidil needs to almost double, if not triple, the growth and the speed at which you see growth.
Yeah, finasteride is an amazing product. And really what that does is, you were talking earlier about the DHT and how that hormone chokes off the hair follicle. And finasteride, it really just blocks that. So you don't have that issue. And if you're intense, 10% of people still need something else, and there's dutasteride.
That's another one too.
Right.
Yeah.
That I've learned that is, look, at the finasteride's not effective. And that's what happened to me, where you have a different approach than me, because I'm an extrands or the hair system kind of person. And I love the fact that you are still pursuing really good scalp health, and the fact that you're using EXT. And I've given up on the finasteride because I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to be extrands. That's just going to be it. But now that I found out about dutasteride, I know about EXT, I myself am considering saying, okay, well, let's just see if I can't maybe kickstart the old scalp health and go back at it. So by doing this HairPod, I've learned a lot about my own hair health and where I might go. So you're kind of an inspiration to me. And I would assume for you, the goal would be to try to work on your own scalp health and use the EXT and things like finasteride, dutasteride, and maybe, who knows, that one day you would be able to go without a hair system or extrands and just have great scalp health because of HairClub.
Exactly. I would love to have that eventually. And rediscovering, my own scalp and my own hair is huge. And as I said, with time, the technologies are only going to get better, the advancements and everything. So as I get older, I would love to eventually not have to wear hair and just be sporting my own. That is the end goal. But in the meantime, I mean, I get to see myself every day. I get to present myself properly every single day, while at the same time, I'm working on me. And with my scalp issue that I do have, I mean, that's for life. Unfortunately, it's for life. So I have to keep up with that. As I get stressed out, it starts to rears its ugly head again. So I have to continue to work on that. I have to continue to work on my diet. And yeah, I feel like, it wasn't just wearing hair wasn't enough. And we started doing it at my center. And then as more clients started to see my results, all of a sudden they were like, oh my gosh. And just like yourself, you're like, this is amazing. I should do this too. I'd love to see what I can do as well. And we've got so many clients now at my center who are on it. There's clients all across, the US that are jumping on this too. More centers are jumping on the doing both. And I hope it continues to grow. I hope more and more people start to understand this. I hope this podcast helps a lot of people realize, you can do both. You can find success in both. And this is what I'm trying to promote. So, whatever options are out there for you to help regrow, clean your scalp, you should really jump on it. It's minoxidil, finasteride, the laser comb, taking the vitamins, whatever you can get your hands on to help boost that, go for it. Honestly, it's only going to help.
Talking to Dan is always inspiring. His overall focus is on his wellness, his scalp health, maintaining a great diet, and keeping his stress levels down to combat his psoriasis. And I think it's great that Dan is sharing his story so that more people know that they can take their hair and scalp health seriously while still having the look that they want in the meantime, like Dan does with his own hair system. He's the first guest we talked to on this show to use both EXT and X-Trans Plus, and maybe that's because most people wouldn't even know that it's possible to use both of them at the same time. We want to thank Dan, as always, for being an incredible guest and sharing his journey with the world so that more people can get the help and the hair that they want. For more inspirational stories and words of wisdom from people who have been through hair loss, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening to another episode of HairPod. Check us out at HairClub on Instagram or search HairPod on Facebook to continue the conversation. If you know someone that could benefit from hearing this episode, we would love it if you'd share it with them. If you're enjoying the show, consider leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. We also have a website. Just check it out by going to podcast.hairclub.com. We're here to build people up and share real stories so people experiencing hair loss feel a little bit less alone. And when you share, review, and subscribe, it helps us do just that. So thank you. Until next time.